Well, on behalf of the University of Arizona, let me welcome you here to beautiful Tucson. This is my first spring in Tucson, so I am enjoying it as much as I hope all of you are. And thank you for coming to this 17th Annual Global Retailing Conference. I've already been impressed by our students and by all of you, and this is an incredible group of people. My job today is a very, very fun one. As you know, this conference is organized by the Terry Lundgren Center for Retailing, which is part, as you just heard, of the Norton School of Family and Consumer Studies here at the University of Arizona. It is this kind of event, as well as numerous educational and research programs, that makes the center such a success. The Norton School and the University of Arizona as a whole are fortunate to have the support of many of you who are industry partners, like Macy's Incorporated, and of course, its chairman, president, and CEO, Terry Lundgren, who is, I think, the first executive at Macy's to hold all three of those responsibilities simultaneously, if I am correct. Previously, Terry served as President and Chief Merchandising Officer and later as President and Chief Operating Officer of Macy's, Inc. In his position at the head of one of the world's great retail companies, Terry has demonstrated remarkable insight into the nature of the global economy, and has been at the forefront of changes that have restored the promise and ensured the future vitality of the department store industry. He was one of the first people to call attention to the industry's rather dated image. And through his leadership, Macy's made the necessary changes for its long-term success. Some of us are old enough to remember shopping with our parents where there was a wire with a box in it that went down to the retail station where you would write your check and put your ID in the little cylinder, and then it would be sent up. I'm not kidding you. This is a childhood memory. It's a good thing you all have moved way past having to send your check and ID up to those people in the windowed business offices. I just dated myself terribly, didn't I? Well, by early 2004, Terry oversaw a $15.4 billion company that operated 460 stores in 34 states, Guam, and Puerto Rico. For this work, Terry has received numerous industry and other recognitions. In 2000, he was awarded an honorary Doctor of Laws degree and delivered the University of Arizona's commencement address. In 2008, he received the Gold Medal Award from the National Retail Federation, considered the retailing industry's highest honor. Terry is also very active in community service. He has been appointed to the Commission on Women's Economic Development by Mayor Bloomberg of New York City. And he has served in numerous charitable organizations, including the Fresh Air Fund, American Jewish Council, Breast Cancer Awareness, now Legal Defense Fund, Parsons School, and the Ovarian Cancer Society. So many wonderful organizations. Terry currently serves on the boards of Carnegie Hall, the New York City Partnership, and the United Way of New York City. As many of you probably know, Terry's road to success runs through the University of Arizona. And his rise in the business world is a clear demonstration of the value that a University of Arizona education carries. And you are seeing that firsthand with the wonderful students whom you heard from last night. He is a valued member of the University of Arizona community and provides world-class models for our students to follow. Through the Lundgren Center's development since its beginnings in 1993, today's students in the Norton School benefit from the expertise of other industry leaders and have opportunities for internships and other programs that turn knowledge into action and prepare them to be the next generation of leaders for the retail industry. I also want you to know that the center is supported by its corporate advisory board, a wonderful group of people who contribute tremendously to the quality of what we do. It helps us attract the smartest and most driven students in the industry. With Terry, we at the University of Arizona are proud of all of them as our partners because they share our values and have the vision to ensure that those values are played out in the business world of the 21st century. The conference program over the next 2 days reflects that vision. It is sure to be an opportunity for important discussions, as you have heard already, and will lead to innovations in business and retailing strategies. It's appropriate then that Terry start things off today for us. Please join me in welcoming him back to the University of Arizona and to Tucson. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Hart, and welcome to Wildcat Country. We're glad to have you here at the helm of this important university, and thank you, Martha, for your leadership now 18 months into your role of leading the retail center here at the University of Arizona. We're very proud of the accomplishments that we've made thus far and look forward to many, many more as time goes on. And for those of you, which is most of you, who could not be here last night, we had our welcome dinner, and it was really fantastic to hear our sponsors talk about endorsing why they are here and why this conference is different than any conference they attend. And it really is focused on the consumer and how the consumer is changing and moving. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, as will others. You've got a fantastic lineup of presenters from many great retail companies, as well as wholesale companies, as well as manufacturing, as well as consulting organizations and the like. There really is a great focus on the customer. But one of the other things that I love so much, and we got a little taste of that last night, was listening to our students. I mean, these guys are just so awesome. And you just walk away saying, I want to hire this one, I want to hire this one, I want to hire this one. And we're doing that. We just hired 37 more of these U of A grads to work for Macy's and Bloomingdale's starting this coming year. So it just keeps on getting better and better. But the presentations that we heard from the students last night would just make you all so proud and to tell you that this is a place where you want to come and recruit your future leaders of our industry. So just wanted to say that that's a unique part of this conference because a lot of those students will be here throughout the presentations. So let's get going. First thing I want to do with all of you is start off by asking you a question. And the question I have for you is, what do you think is going to be the biggest game changer for our industry in 2013? Pull out your phones. I'm the only guy that doesn't say turn your phones off. I'm telling you, turn your phones on and text this answer right here. This is the question. So the code that you're texting to is 22333. And your answer, if your answer is the biggest game changer for this year, 2013, is going to be mobile, then your number of response is 373572. If you believe it's multi-channel, that number will be 373577. If you believe it's customer insight marketing, 373578. Omni-channel, 373670, and inventory optimization, 373671. So we'll leave that. Look at it, here it already goes. I love this. It's like those little squirt guns at a fair, and you just see the horses racing and all that. And this changes, but omni-channel looks like it's off to a quick start, and this will probably grow a little bit as entries come in. So I'm going to tell you my answer to this question. I mean, obviously, I think all of these subjects are extremely important, but I'm going to give you a hint about what my answer is in 2013, and it may surprise you, but that's going to be the focus of my talk. First, however, let me just give you some updates on where we've gone from, even from our Dr. Hart left off. Macy's Inc., which is Macy's, is 800 stores approximately, plus Bloomingdale's about 37 stores, plus we have 12 outlet stores for Bloomingdale's now in the outlet business, and then a very significant .com business for both Macy's and Bloomingdale's. In fact, approaching to be one of the largest online businesses in America, multi-billion-dollar business just online, and something that we just continue to see as an opportunity for us to continue to grow. One of the things we're most proud of is that, and Matt Shea will talk to you later, who is the CEO of the National Retail Federation, about the importance of our industry and how we impact jobs in America and careers in America. Great careers in our industry. And in our case, we added 5,000 permanent positions this past year, and that was on top of 5,000 permanent positions the year before. So indeed, companies like ours who are in this audience are adding to the economy of the United States. It does add up, and it does make a big difference, and it does indeed make a big impact. Also on our agenda will be Tony Spring, who is my president of Bloomingdale's, and he'll be making a presentation as well. So I'm going to let him talk about Bloomingdale's, and I'm going to focus my remarks on Macy's. But it was another very good year for the company, a third year in a row that we've picked up in excess of $1 billion in same-store sales. And 12 quarters in a row of 3.5 comps or better, and earnings per share growth, 20% up last year, on top of 3 years of prior growth. All the metrics, financial metrics and the like, are performing well. So I start off by that, by then going to the strategy, because I think if you don't, if you can't validate the strategy with financial results, then it doesn't have quite the same, impact. So that's what I wanted to try it off just by starting to talk about that. So let me just tell you what I think has just been such a big change for our company in the last few years, and that is this whole subject, and it was one of the questions here, of how the consumer has changed and how the consumer is today an omni-channel consumer. And we consider ourselves no longer just a department store, but an omni-channel store servicing this omni-channel consumer. And as we saw this consumer changing, and you all did too, over the last 5 years, we have changed our investment strategy. And we have definitely focused our investments onto technology, onto getting our stores, making our stores feel more like the benefits and the positive signs of the online shopping experience, enabling our sales associates with training and technology to deal with this consumer who's shopping differently today, who's walking in, doing the research on her phone first and deciding whether she wants to shop at your store or not shop at your store, just looking at the selections. Then most of them are still actually coming into the store to touch the product. They want to touch the product. They want to feel the quality. They want to see if this is the fit that is right for them. They want to try on that shoe and make sure it looks right with the outfit that they're buying. That is still a very, very real and growing part of the relationship with the consumer. And then perhaps he or she are not actually making the purchase at that time. Many of them are, but many are going back to their office or going back home and sitting at home or sitting on the couch and thinking about doing their emails or doing their social media sites, and at that time, clicking and making the decision to buy. So omni-channel is how this consumer is engaging with us in a major way, and we've been investing in technology to support that changing buying habit of the customer. How do we do it? We owe it all to Mom. That's what we talk about all the time, Mom. And mostly it was just an acronym that I could remember, and so that's how we kind of came up with the name. But it was Mom, and you've heard this if you've heard me speak in the last few years, because we've been very consistent about this subject, and that is the first M of Mom stands for My Macy's, and that is, I think, the big winning strategy for us. That is the localization effort. That is the fact that we have about 27 people living in 69 cities around the country. In this market, they live in Phoenix, Arizona. I was in our stores here yesterday, and a couple of our stores here in Tucson, and ran into our district planners and our district merchants who are working in their area to uniquely drive local assortments for the business in these stores. that is very different from the store I left yesterday in Macy's Herald Square. So it's really understanding who is the customer shopping, not just in the city, but in the store, within that city, and then driving the assortments to a very local level. Is it, in one store I was in yesterday, had a very large Hispanic customer, and there was a different requirement for the inseam that we're getting right in this market after a couple of years of fits and starts. We're finally getting that right, working with our vendor community to make sure that we're addressing the opportunities for this consumer. Another store was very focused on, in the textile department, on Southwest presentations of textiles. I've never seen Southwest presentations in Miami or in Minneapolis or in Chicago, where I was recently. So it's just very tailoring lots of these various products to the local stores and the local markets. And most of the time, it's from our core vendors. So it's our core vendors working with us to tailor assortments to these local markets. And fortunately, because of our size and the fact that we're generally the largest customer for most of our vendors, that we have enough scale that we can actually work with them on multiple stores to make it worthwhile for everyone. Everybody wins. That's the M in my Macy's. The O is omni-channel. I've just talked about that quite a bit, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that subject. But and the next M is magic selling. So as this customer has changed, so has our associate requirements changed in order to satisfy this customer. So they're using tablets, they're using technology, they're finding inventory online for customers who are in their individual store. So the magic selling component has definitely changed over the last few years. And then we've added another M. So we call it MOM like now. And the other M is this whole target on the millennial consumer. And all of you in this room, I'm sure, are thinking about that, but you all should be focused on the millennial consumer. That's our students in the back. That's the age group. We've sort of locked it in instead of growing with time. We've sort of locked it in at 13 to 30 years old and broken that into two groups. The 13 to 19-year-old has one set of needs in terms of products from our stores, and then the college student, and then graduating from college, and then eventually getting into their own apartments and needing products for their homes and the like is another set of needs. This is the largest consumer group today, larger than the baby boomer. Over time, they will clearly be the largest spending group. Last year, they spent $170 billion, $65 billion on products that Macy's sells. You cannot ignore this group. And so focusing on this millennial group and making sure you have the right products for them, certainly in our case, is a critical and important objective for us. So both Macy's and Bloomingdale's, by the way, are focused on that subject, and it's, again, all about making sure that we satisfy these customers both in the in-store experience, but as well as the online experience as well. So the answer to my question that I asked earlier is inventory optimization. And this is the big idea for me and for my company, focusing in 2013. All of those subjects are important, as I said. But again, through technology, that's the game changer for me. I have dreamed about improving our inventory turnover for 10 years and have been unsuccessful in my efforts to try to do that. And as I say, I think we have the smartest buyers in the world and the smartest planning executives in the world and the smartest district team people in the world. But getting our inventory right in 800 Macy's stores every week of the year in every product category, in every size, and in every color, and every weight of fabric is very hard to do. No matter how smart you are, it's very, very hard to do. As obviously customers' tastes are changing while you're trying to implement orders 6 months in advance, so it's very, very hard to do. We do it pretty well. I think we do it probably as well as anybody, but getting it exactly right is hard. So the big breakthrough, of course, is technology in finding that inventory for that consumer and then figuring out how to get it delivered to that consumer in a very short window of time. All of a sudden, we now have the ability to use all of the network of our inventory to satisfy customers walking into any one of our 800 stores or shopping online with us. That is indeed, for us, the big breakthrough. And here it is. So it's really, again, a big focus on this omni-channel consumer. all of the senses, touching the product in the store, going on her mobile device, buying extra accessories online, having them delivered, us being able to track, the customer being able to track the delivery coming to the house, knowing that it's on track and it's on schedule, all enabled by technology. And that's what's happening today. Customers are able to actually see their orders develop and actually move toward their homes and by watching it and tracking it on their laptop device. And so we're working behind the scenes, with all of this to help make it easier and easier and more transparent for the customer to be able to follow their decision pattern and see it get executed directly at their home. So that's what the smart systems is all about, and direct fulfillment. And I'm going to talk about that next because this whole subject of better inventory management means managing the inventory again from our 800 stores as well as our multiple fulfillment centers that we have that were originally designed to fill just Macy's.com and Bloomingdale's.com orders. But that indeed is now all changing again with the help of new systems and improved technology. So now, customer might walk into the Tucson Mall. We don't have the product. And we have the math that's being figured out, the algorithms in the technology, helping us decide, well, where is the product that customer wants located? What's the nearest location? And how is the best way to get it to that customer? The product may be 5 minutes away, maybe 50 miles away, maybe 500 miles away, and we have to figure out where to pull that inventory from. But the next step is even more impressive, and that is through this whole what we call search and send process, this technology, is that the math is also including the potential to sell the item we're looking for in any given store. So if we have that red dress, and this customer wants this, and we're sold out in the Tucson Mall, and I've got one 5 minutes away, but in fact, it's selling well in that store, and it's selling poorly, in Minneapolis, and it may be a much bigger, a longer flight and longer drive to get the inventory from Minneapolis to Tucson, but it may cost me much less if I avoid a markdown because that item is not selling in that store, and now that the technology will help guide that decision. So avoiding a markdown is almost always a better savings than avoiding a shipping cost. So to me, the breakthrough on the technology has just been fantastic over the last year in particular, and us being able to bring those systems upgrades into our decision-making process about where we pull the inventory from. And so we went from 23 stores of 2 years ago, setting them up and testing them and trying them out and getting the bugs out, and using these 23 stores to fulfill orders from around the country when we were out of stock in an individual store. Last year, it was so successful the first year, last year we moved to 292 stores. And the beauty of that is we weren't just putting all the workload on those 23, so we were spreading the workload. And so the systems are also using that. They're not going to keep going to the same store to keep pulling items because there's too much workload involved in doing that. So they'll spread the workload out. After they look at shipping costs, after they look at markdown potential, then they also are looking at workload for the individual store and spreading it out. So then that idea has become so successful, and we ship hundreds of millions of dollars now directly from our stores to customers' homes. And in many cases, customers are actually shopping online, and we're pulling from our stores. We never used to do that before. And then so now I'm not limited to having a bigger warehouse to order and more inventory. I can actually pull the product from Macy's.com, Bloomingdale's.com, from my stores and ship it directly to the customer in that way, which I absolutely love. Because, again, the fact that I don't have to buy inventory twice, the fact that if I sold out, which very often happens, I sell out on Macy's.com, I just take the photo down. I take the screen down because I'm out. Well, now I keep the screen up, and I can keep on selling from the inventory in the stores. And so maximizing the inventory optimization has become a big, big opportunity for our company, and I'm sure for yours. And so just really thinking about this whole subject gets me very excited about what's next and what's coming. So I just think with the technology that I've just described, there's so much more potential. I was just at Macy's.com for a regular update, and they were telling me a story about how we sell this. It's called Fiesta Wear, for those of you who may not know it. But Fiesta Wear is very colorful dinnerware, casual dinnerware, all kinds of colors. Well, each year, they discontinue certain colors. Well, Macy's.com sold out of the discontinued color. It was chocolate brown, so real markdowns on that, So they just sold out. Well, they were going to take it off their view page, but instead, we searched the inventory, and we had 1,600 four-piece place-setting sets spread out, one here, two here, one there, in our 800 stores around the country of this chocolate brown. Well, you can't sell one four-piece place setting. Nobody needs one four-piece place setting. But people do need 12-piece place settings, or they do need 16-piece place settings. And so we were able just to put that photo right back up, and instead of taking markdowns on the 16 of just clearing the excess inventory, we sold out to a piece by just putting it online and just generating sales in groups of 4, 6, 8, 12, 16 pieces at a time. So avoided a markdown altogether. So again, I just think this being able to choose how we satisfy these orders is a big, big opportunity for us. So we fill from two ways, and the logic decides, do we fill from our fulfillment centers? And we have 4 of these great fulfillment centers. One we built in West Virginia a year ago, and that is 1.3 million square feet. It's 36 football fields in terms of the space that it covers. I think I mentioned before, but we actually had to take into consideration when we poured the concrete for the floor of this building, the curvature of the earth. This is how big. I would give you an impression how big this thing is. 14 miles of conveyor belt, all technology-driven, high-tech. I mean, speeding through, these conveyor belts speeding through, and everything's being read from the computers and the ceilings, and it slows down, and it just drops into the chute where on an individual customer basis. You've seen it, but I tell you, the technology has improved so much in these fulfillment centers, and it's very rapid, it's very efficient, very fast. And then you've got the opposite in our stores. You've got somebody, that gets the message on their mobile device, then they go out to the floor, they pick the item, then they come back and they pack the item, and then they ship it. But even including all of that, and we're getting better and better at doing that, but even including the difference in productivity, the markdown avoidance is such a profitable decision that very often is becoming the best decision for us when we decide where to ship the product from. So we're now in a position with these 500 stores. By the end of this year, we'll have 500 of these locations ready to ship directly to customers. We're able to get 90% of our inventory will now be accessible on our POS devices in every one of our stores. So 90% of the inventory we'll have access to now that we have these 500 stores opening up. And I tell you, I think the shipping companies, UPSs and the Federal Expresses, they're getting onto this bandwagon as well, and we're working with these guys, and Google is testing some things with us as well to just try to figure out how do we get the product in the hands even faster to the consumer. Next day delivery is a very, very real idea. Same day delivery, it's definitely more expensive for same day delivery, so you have to just weigh the cost value relationship there. But those ideas are coming and moving at a very rapid pace, and therefore almost taking out of the equation the issue of you once had to wait for a long time if you ordered online versus the instant satisfaction you get from buying in the store. So lots of really good things happening, all I think enabled by great technology that's responding to the changing habits of the consumer and how he and she are buying. I think next for us, which some of you in this room are definitely ahead of us on this subject, but we have not had the ability to shop online and pick up in store. Frankly, originally I didn't really think that that was a big value to our customer. I've learned that that's wrong, and the customers do want this from our stores as well as others, and so we are enabling our stores for that to be a next idea for our customers if they choose to have that option. And again, you know, with stores that are relatively close in proximity, as we have in many of our cities, you may not have it in one store, but may have it in another. They may be able to go into one store and we don't have it, but we'll order it for them and they'll pick it up themselves in another store nearby. So there's lots of possibilities, we think, to continue to advance the idea. The whole idea, the obvious whole idea, however the customer wants the product, we're going to give it to him, we're going to give it to her. We're just going to put the customer at the center of our decision-making process and continually work to satisfy what that customer is looking for and wants for us. With that, I'm going to stop and say thanks for listening. So I am happy to take questions from anyone who might have some. And if you look for hands here, and I'm going to let Lindsay or whoever else got microphones just find them because I can't see them particularly well.
My question to you is, obviously you've been able to gain visibility into the inventory that exists everywhere across all the channels. What have you done organizationally? What challenges did you have to overcome organizationally to incentivize online versus in-store transactions? Did you have to change bonus structures and things like that to incentivize employees to work together as a de-siloed organization?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So two big initiatives for us. One is I created for the first time a brand new job in our company that reports directly to me, and it's the Chief Omni-Channel Officer of the company. And this individual has now, I've got technology reporting to him, so the whole IT organization reports to R.B. Harrison, and logistics, all of delivery reports to this guy directly, plus the combined technology of all these things that I've been talking about, of how are you satisfying the customer in these fulfillment locations with the technology required to see the inventory and execute the transaction and make the delivery. So that was first and foremost. Put somebody in charge that has a 360-degree view of the customer, as opposed to the silos that we normally have of a buyer in this seat, a planner in this seat, someone in the stores organization in this seat, someone in technology in this, but to have somebody with this 360-degree view of the customer and what the customer is looking for. That was first and foremost. And then secondly was we discovered that pretty early on that if we wanted to, you know, we're giving credit to wherever the demand was captured. So if Tucson Mall is where the customer was located and wanted to have that merchandise, buy that merchandise, that's the store that gets credit. They get full credit for that sale, even though the inventory was shipped from Minneapolis. But we also wanted to incent Minneapolis. And so we're giving a half a credit. You know, if it's $100 for the item, a $100 credit goes to Tucson Mall, and a $50 credit goes to the Minneapolis Mall. Now, I'm double booking. Obviously, I can't. That's not reported. It's just me charging myself 150% for the transaction. But we felt that was important to do, to your point, because you got to make sure you incent those who are giving up inventory. And those who are making that transaction and working to go find the inventory and pull it out of their store. You know, because one argument could be, hey, I'm pulling inventory out of my store, and maybe if I could hold on to it for just another month, I could sell it. You know, and I'm saying, no. I want to sell it today, and let me try to get it back in stock for you in another month. So this is a little bit of a push-pull. So I think we did have to incent both the demand as well as the fulfillment. Any other questions?
A question back here, Terry. Great presentation, very provocative. You mentioned in passing Google and Amazon. And Amazon's talking about next day or same day delivery in a variety of different major metropolitan areas. So I wondering if you could comment with the inventory optimization and direct fulfillment. the position you have vis-a-vis that strategy that, that Amazon is going after. And if I could just make one other comment, your next strategy is mommy.
Yeah, there you go.
With inventory optimization.
Mommy, mamo. One of the things I try very hard to do is stay very focused with my organization, because I just feel like for myself, I just want to be able to recite, to have everybody in my whole organization, all 176,000 of us, to know what the strategy is. They may not know all of the details, but everybody ought to know what MOM stands for. And so if I feel like I have everybody in the organization focused on MOM, I got a better chance of executing that strategy. So I do try to keep things as simple as I can. But I will tell you this, that I can envision that you know, these UPS guys of the world, Federal Express, I can envision that we can have our stores also, now that they're becoming not just stores but fulfillment centers, that they can become hubs for inventory delivery. So we can have maybe a store in Phoenix, as an example, be the hub store for the Arizona market, and every single night UPS or Federal Express or whoever the right carrier is for us in that particular market would come to that store and pick up inventory and deliver it to the marketplace that night next morning. So that's how I'm envisioning it. And so to me, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, do you have too many stores, I probably would have said yes, and I probably need to think about paring them down. Today, I think, I'm so happy that I have all of these stores, because these stores, first, I've got a shot at selling customers who actually walk into the stores. They don't walk into my fulfillment centers. They walk into my stores, and they see and touch product. And I'm rethinking, how do I now organize myself to optimize shipping from these locations? How do I use the technology that we're so good at in our fulfillment centers and bring some of that thinking and that technology into some of those key hub doors, so that we become fulfilling doors as well as department store doors in itself. So there's to me, all of these possibilities exist today, all driven by the advancements in technology. And it's all about satisfying the customer quickly. But somebody needs to keep a time clock on me so I can just, Martha, tell me when to, give me this.
Terry, great presentation, thank you. As we think about the comments that you've made, and you've talked about how you're optimizing the inventory and fulfilling across stores, what has it meant to you in terms of reducing markdowns, as far as a real quantified expression? In
reducing markdowns? Nothing. And so, but it's my dream. It's my goal. I mean, that chocolate Fiesta ware, that was an avoidance of a markdown. So sure I'm waiting for my merchants to say, we're ready to put that in our plan now. And I haven't gotten them to actually do that.
They're sandbagging you, aren't they?
They're sandbagging me a little bit. But, but that's okay, because we need to get some legs on this strategy and get some experience with this strategy. But that's my dream, because if you, first of all, it starts with inventory turn. I mean, inventory utilization, inventory turn, velocity. If you can increase your inventory turn, and I would say that my industry has not been good at that subject. We've had the same inventory turn with fractional improvements year after year. If we can now maximize the utilization of our inventory, for all of my career, whenever I've been able to grow turn, I've improved my gross margin. 100% relationship to those two subjects. Improve inventory turn, improve your gross margin. And so that's why I really believe passionately that there is potential, and eventually I'm going to get my merchants to put it in the plan. Can't see anybody. There's hands I just can see, but just make sure the microphones go to them.
Hi, I have a question. I wondered if you could speak to the promotional pulse that Macy's continually has, the 20% off cards, and how you contrast that with markdowns, and maybe in the broader context of what we've seen JCPenney take those incentives away from their core shopper. How are you looking at the role of that, thrill of the deal?
Well, I just think you have to look at your customer. And what I can tell you is in our case, it's working. So I don't want to change it because, as I said, we've picked up about $1.2 billion a year on same-store sales for the last 3 years. And so I think whatever we're doing on the promotional calendar, we probably shouldn't mess around with that too much. We ought to stay with that. And I think your customers are very smart. They understand value. They're looking for value. And in my case, we study this customer very, very closely. We've made mistakes in the past. When we acquired the May Company, we were Federated Department Stores, we were called back then, and Federated Department Stores was much less promotional than May Company. We just looked at the days of promotion, and we looked at that. And so my genius idea was, well, we're doing better than the May Company. We just bought them. Let's reduce the promotions of the May Company, and they'll be just like Federated. I got killed. I got absolutely crushed by the May Company stores because the customer said, no, you're taking away value from me. And so it was my great idea that was an absolute disaster because I didn't, in that case, listen to the customer. I just tried to do what I thought worked for the Federated customers. And I think that was a great lesson for me and for my organization to make sure that we are listening very, very closely to our customer. And we look very closely, I look very closely. I've got a fantastic marketing team that balances the message of brand building, regular price selling, regular price marketing, parades, firework investments, fashion shows, fashion star with promotional advertising, and that mixed balance. We're constantly adjusting that mix, and frankly, most of the time, it's a tweak down on promotion and a tweak up on brand. That's always what we try to push for. But overall, I think the team does a really good job of managing that balance. I see hands going up, so just matter that I'll get the microphones in. When you get a microphone in your hand.
Hello. So on the technology side, RFID tags, are they tied in at all to locating inventory within these stores in order to do the fulfillment?
Yes, finally. RFID, has been out there for, 15 years or something like that, but it's never been cost effective for us to actually tag the merchandise. And we finally bit the bullet on that last year, and we are tagging our women's shoe department as an example. And I tell you what, shame on us for taking so long. We just had to make this move and move forward. And what's just so blew me away is that our shoe business has been good. And one reason why our shoe business has been good is because we have RFID tags, radio frequency identification, for those of you, if I'm speaking a foreign language, tags every single item, every single piece of merchandise. We can walk with a wand and identify that inventory on the floor today, as opposed to having to shoot every single item on your floor. What this has done for us is it's allowed us to figure out that at any given time, 20 to 25% of our shoes are off the floor. They're not even there. The customer, picks one up. The sales associate says, "Oh, it's the last pair." We go and buy it, or that's the last size 6. And so she grabs that size 6 and then takes the other box and gives it to that customer. But we forget to put the size 7 back out on the floor. So we can't even make another sale. And so just that alone is helping us pay for RFID. Now the next step will be for our vendor community to buy into this and see the advantages of RFID and begin to tag RFID at the point of origin where the product is made, as opposed to what we're doing now, which is tagging it into our warehouse. And it slows down getting the goods on the floor. It's costly, and I just believe that we had to make the move and go forward. And I believe that the industry over time, Walmart's been very good at this subject and has been faster than we are at this. But I think us and Walmart, and there's been some others that have adopted RFID. I think this will definitely move forward. It's got strong advantages. Whoever's got a microphone.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lundgren. So I'm going back to the question about the markdowns. I was just curious what kind of an impact that's going to have on the customer market that's attracted towards lower prices and sales. Is that going to be something that affects the overall profits or the customer drive?
First of all, I can't see you.
Oh.
And
I'm right here in the back.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
I'm a student. Hi.
I'm sorry. All right, so I'm sorry. So say that again now that I can focus on you.
Okay, so speaking about the markdowns,
Yes.
I was wondering if that was a big part of Macy's. Like if you were to reduce the number of markdowns you have, is that going to affect the customer market that's attracted to lower prices and such?
Yes. First of all, it depends on the area. And you're going to hear from Jonathan Zarina in a few minutes, from who's a CEO of Clarins Group, which is a fantastic cosmetics company. We don't take markdowns in cosmetics. You know, they do creative promotions to stimulate business, but they don't take markdowns. So there's different parts of the business that require different strategies in terms of promotion. In women's apparel, the two-thirds of the apparel that we sell is fashion apparel. In our case, not everybody, you know, I mean, so the lower price point businesses that there are, the less fashion that there is involved in that. But in our case, you know, the women's apparel business is a risk business, because what we buy 6 months in advance that's being delivered in March, we got to get rid of that. You're not going to want what we have in Tucson Mall in September, what's in the store today in March. So if it doesn't sell, we have to mark it down. You know, there's just a cadence to that, to the fashion business, that has to be marked down. And then there are other businesses that we plan to mark down and plan to promote. And so there are different parts of the business that require different ways to promote the product. But I think, at least in our case, we are a promotional department store, and we will remain one. That's part of the strategy and what our customers expect from us. I got one more question, and then I'm out of time.
Terry, how are you using technology to reduce store space, or to use technology and displays to reduce store space, and to improve inventory turns by not showing 25 SKUs of Coach bags, showing 10, and then having displays to show others? Is that something that we're moving?
It's a good question, and we haven't addressed it we haven't not addressed it yet. But I can imagine that if we build stores, and when we build stores in the future, that they could be smaller, that the stores themselves could be smaller, just for that reason. Using technology, you know, to allow the consumer to virtually shop, I think opens up all kinds of ideas. We have today a fantastic 40-foot trailer that's driving around to university campuses, that's launching our new 13 millennial brands that we're launching, aimed at this 20-year-old to 25-year-old consumer. And we're doing it by driving a truck around with iPads showing virtual inventory, if you will. Nothing is take with. 100% of it is ordered by students, from students, on this truck and delivered overnight. You know, I mean, so there's just new ways of capturing and getting at a business, I think, and all enabled by technology, which hopefully will create a need for less overall space. Thank you all very much.